Hey everybody, this is the recap from the week in Washington. I'll give you the basic points here and then we'll add the context. The CR, we passed a CR which is a continuing resolution, so I'm going to talk to you about that. Of course, you already know about Saudi Arabia being attacked. There are oil facilities being attacked by, let's face it, Iran, whether it came from Yemen or Iran directly. We moved a bill which is important to you on the Chesapeake Bay pollution reauthorization. And there was also, of course, the whistleblower complaint against the president. So let's get back to the CR continuing resolution. So we have to fund the government, and the government's fiscal year runs until the end of September. Now, we all know this in Congress, so the way we do that is we set a budget number, and then we appropriate to that budget number so that we spend that much money, or at least we're not supposed to spend over that. That requires the House Appropriations Committees to pass its appropriations bills, and the House to pass those bills, which has already happened, and we talked about that in the past, but it also requires the Senate to do it. The Senate hasn't done it, so now we need an extension beyond the end of September. This frustrates me for a couple reasons. First of all, it's not like we didn't know it was coming. The Senate had plenty of time to do it. Why they waited till the last minute, I don't know. But they've asked us to pass a bill with less than, a huge bill, of course, a bunch of spending to keep the government open, with less than 24 hours to read it. And I guess that's a prerogative, but it's just poor government. But the other thing it did is it sets the date where the continuing resolution expires until right before Thanksgiving. And the reason that that's done is because everybody's going to want to go home on Thanksgiving. They're going to load up whatever that spending bill is to get beyond Thanksgiving with a bunch of things that people don't agree with, but they're probably going to vote for it just to go to, so they can return home for Thanksgiving. So I voted no on it because A, you don't have enough time to read. B, they should figure this stuff out before it's a crisis. And C, let's not do it right before a holiday weekend where people are trying to get home, so that we can actually have the conversation about the nation's spending and debt that we should have and vote accordingly.
Which we keep kicking the can down the road for.
We're bankrupting the country. All right, so the Saudi Arabian oil facility bombing, obviously we didn't do anything in Congress about it, but I do want to let you know that I received a briefing about it, and I'm very confident, based on the briefing that I got, that Iran is responsible. There really is a justifiable question right now about exactly where the drones and the cruise missiles emanated from. But let me just put it this way. It's my opinion, based on the briefing I got, is Iran is the only one that has the technology and the wherewithal to do this. So whether they did it from the country of Iran proper or from one of their proxies, let's say in Yemen, the responsibility still goes back to Iran. We're waiting to see what the response will be, but this response is predicated partly on whether we can prove that they actually came from the country of Iran as opposed to Yemen, which it makes it a little murkier. And then, so would the response be just Saudi Arabia? Would other coalition partners come in, so on and so forth? I do believe in supporting Iran in this issue. I think I do agree and think that this is an act of war. They literally blew up some of Saudi Arabia's refinery equipment. I'm no great fan of Saudi Arabian policies and how they treated the United States over time, but there are bigger issues of global economics that are involved here and tied to the free flow of oil out of the Middle East, and Iran knows that. They're trying to get to be relieved of sanctions imposed on them by the United States and some other countries, and this is their way of doing it. I would say this. Saudi Arabia was attacked, and while we have interest in the region and we have interest internationally in this, Saudi Arabia was attacked, and Saudi Arabia, in my opinion, is the one that should respond. We can certainly be supportive of Saudi Arabia, and we can maybe help in targeting and intelligence gathering and those type of things, but this should not be America's response, in my opinion. But that's just where we are right now. On the Chesapeake Bay pollution data, it's a 4-year reauthorization of the Chesapeake Bay cleanup, and my amendment sought to make sure that the Chesapeake Bay Commission deals with the science and the facts, and right now they use modeling. And I just want to refer to my notes here. The Scientific and Technical Advisory Committee, which evaluates the models that the Chesapeake Bay, and there's other ones, I think we approved 6 or 5 other similar type things like the San Francisco Bay operations. The Scientific and Technical Advisory Committee advises these interstate compacts on the data that they're supposed to use. And they have told the Chesapeake Bay Committee, I think 5 or 6 times since 2005, that we need to see transparency in the modeling, and we need to make sure that the modeling is scientifically accurate so that we understand. As you know, people in the 10th District of Pennsylvania and, of course, all across the Susquehanna River Basin are being taxed and fined, and fees are being levied based on the Chesapeake Bay cleanup. And cleaning the bay is appropriate. We just need to make sure that we have the correct science and the numbers are validated based on what's actually happening in the bay, and that's what we're asking for. The majority did not want to support the amendment, so I had a conversation with Chairman DeFazio of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, where he agreed to work with me and us on this issue, and if we would pull the amendment and then try and maybe make further amendments to the bill when it comes to the floor. So I agreed to do that. So stay tuned. We would just like to get accurate data that is transparent in the Chesapeake Bay cleanup effort. And then, of course, the whistleblower complaint regarding the president. And again, Congress really didn't take any votes or actions in this regard. The president has these Article 2 powers. The president does have the ability to make arrangements and agreements with leaders of foreign nations, and sometimes I don't agree with them. I don't agree with past presidents, and sometimes I might not agree with this president. But this is the president's Article 2 of the Constitution. This is his prerogative. I'll tell you, one of the things that really concerns me, though, is that you have a member of the Intelligence Committee that's monitoring the president's conversation. And when the president's speaking to other heads of state, other people are always listening in on both sides. That's to be expected. But then to make these assertions where the Attorney General and the Director of National Intelligence has said this is outside the purview and is irrelevant regarding essentially the whistleblower's claim is unfounded is concerning to me. Presidents need to be able to operate in this space and have conversation with other foreign leaders on behalf of the United States. And so, unfortunately, I think we're probably just going to waste a lot of time with this issue again, instead of getting to things that we really need to get to in the Committee of Jurisdiction, like the Judiciary Committee, where we could be working on a whole host of things from affordable health care to illegal immigration. But anyhow, that's what we did this week. The big news, of course, was the CR, the continuing resolution from a legislative standpoint. Other than that, not a whole lot of production out of Congress. But till next week, I hope you have a great week. So long. God bless you.